South by Southwest. Stanley comes back to South by Southwest in Austin, where we saw like all these really small movies getting picked up, and he came back. And he's like,
I got back, and then I was like, seeing a lot of those small movies out there, I kind of saw them. I was like, we can make one of those. So when we got back, like one of the first things I was thinking about was like, what do we have in our means to make a movie? And we had that lake house, we had the 4 guys, we had a couple of the restaurants, pretty much every location we knew we could have for free. So we wrote a movie around that. And, just Tyler was a part of that as well. He's not here.
Couldn't make it. Tom.
Next question. So there is a budding indie film scene group in New Orleans. How do you see yourselves as a part of the budding industry?
a lot of the industry in New Orleans is actually more geared towards like industry films. It's something that LA kind of just uses to outsource their labor and get the tax credit. So like there's not a ton of indie films, indie feature films that are getting done there, to be honest. And there's been a few, like we're one of a few, and like a big reason we even did this movie in the first place was to just like show that you could do a movie for really cheap, that normal people who like work low down on the big crews could get together and do something of their own. So we just hope that to make more and more of these in New Orleans in the future.
All right, I'm going to open up the questions to the floor. So anyone want to ask some questions?
It was filmed in Louisiana?
Yes.
Yeah. Near New Orleans?
The New Orleans area, and the lake house was primarily like between New Orleans and like I guess Hammond. You go out into the middle of like the swamp, and then you take a 20-minute boat ride further into the middle of the swamp. That's where we were living.
Yeah, that was accessible by boat. We were there for 2 weeks.
It's called Man Shack.
There was a sign when he's smoking a cigarette and they almost drive away. Yeah, Man Shack.
Got a question here?
How many days did you guys have at the house, and did you like have any difficulties when you realized you were in a secluded area? Because obviously in a set, like,
we were there.
Did you have any like big disasters?
We did, yes.
We were there for 2 weeks. And,
we had one break day in between.
There were no privacy. Everybody shared a bathroom. If you were taking a poop, somebody was like outside the door there to watch.
We all slept everywhere. I actually had a nice bedroom that it was like a master bedroom. My uncle only let me stay in there, but everyone else, they were all over the place.
We had crew people literally staying in like cupboards. Like there were these big storage cupboards up near where Tom's dancing in the dance scene. The guy was just like in the cupboards.
Yeah, he had a sweet spot actually. It was quite
the sound guy slept under the pool table, which I guess
the girls actually showed up last for the film, so I'd been like 15 guys by themselves including the lake house for a week and a half.
And then girls
we start making it really uncomfortable. So.
How many boats did y'all sink? One? Or?
We had, one of the boats we like, we destroyed. Apparently boats burn oil, and we were like running the boats with no oil, so that boat's gone. It's dead.
Yeah. That scene on the deck where they were fishing was supposed to take place on a boat. And the girls were supposed to run into them on the boat, but
the boats all died.
Blew up,
the boat literally died in the middle of the run between the dock and the
I was in that boat.
It started getting dark, and he was basically stuck.
I quickly learned that when boats pass by, like this means hello, but this means help me, I'm stuck.
Stanley almost drowned in one of those scenes where he's pretending to drown. He almost actually drowned. He's like, hey guys, I'm not pretending.
It's a very thin line between acting and drowning and real drowning. I learned it.
Got a question here?
Yeah, I had a question. Well, the movie is hilarious. I was the one that was laughing very loud the whole time. I was trying to stop, but I couldn't. It was really, really well written. Can you tell me a little bit more about development of the characters? I mean, it kind of seems like it's you guys. How much acting is actually going on, and how much was actually?
Well, actually, I haven't talked.
We can give that one to
Okay, so the original draft of the script was a little more honest about everybody, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, I didn't know about that." Wait, I'm gonna come off as a nerd, or I'm gonna people are gonna think I'm a misogynist, or people are gonna think I'm this and that. I'm like, oh, well, I mean, you are. You are a misogynist. You are something. So it was interesting to have people, when you're reading yourself, and it was really hard for me to write myself because I'm just like, well, am I just a fat idiot? Am I sad all the time? Like, what's going on? And so it was very interesting to write yourself, but not write yourself, and then all sorts of crap. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Someone else had a question.
Yeah, where are you going to take what you're doing now in the future, and how are you going to make that good? I mean, how are you going to change it?
Well, first, it's not going to freeze again on the screen. That's not going to happen.
First order of business.
Yeah. The movie was just too good for this theater.
So are you asking about like
where are you going to go? I mean, what are
with this film or with following ones?
Oh, with this movie.
I mean, we're still. I would like to say we're still kind of like in the middle of like finishing our, but like there's still a lot more to go with this one.
We're going to the store. We premiered in LA about a month ago, so we're.
This is screening number 2, so this has a long road ahead of it before it settles somewhere. We'll have to shop around distributors and like.
You guys are the phone from champagne.
No one's really going to see this for a while.
You're not going to see it on Netflix for a while, so I'm saying you're very privileged to be here. We're coming back to New York. Maybe. Yeah.
Look, we get a shot.
Why not?
Yeah, hey, if you fill the seats, we'll bring it. So.
It's not going to be in 3D.
How did you get it funded?
Well, the movie itself is actually not very. It's not very big budget. Like
we each kind of basically started by throwing up like $500 together.
It was like 700.
And then it ended up building up to like 700 around there.
But overall, it was probably about $6,000. That's so it's not very big.
A lot of it was the cheapness sort of just rode on this terrible trick we play on our cruise called deferred payment. Anybody in any film might know about that. So.
That's what you're kind of paid, but you're not really paid. You might
Look at it. Look at it.
Louisiana Entertainment sponsored us too. They gave us a significant amount of money.
In a grant.
Yeah, we got a grant after we shot
production.
it. So
Post-production.
What equipment did you use?
We shot it
5D, 7D, 60D. So all the Ds. You know, 3D. 3D. Sorry.
Yeah, it's digital.
3 different Ds though.
Beautiful.
Unlike one of these guys, I guess you want a little bit of perspective.
That's pretty much the same camera. Like we shot many of the scenes on that right there.
Yeah, this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey.
And then a lot of the other equipment was just pooled from friends we knew. Joe had some of his own lights.
Well, it's like we were working on movies in Louisiana, you know, at the time, and we basically used all our money that we had been making on bigger, you know, other people's projects and bought equipment to use on our project. So that was an excuse for me to buy a light kit, basically. No.
So I was interested in this film because of the title and the mental health aspect, because on campus I'm involved with a group with mental health among Asian American community, and because you guys are being shown at this film festival, do you have anything to talk about the mental health aspect within it?
Actually, another on a serious subject. I actually was suicidal in my late teens. Just there's no reason at all. Just mental breakdown, like just dopamine receptors. I don't know what the hell happened, but it was really bad. Went through therapy, got over it. Didn't do the deed. And then years later, you know, once I'm over that, you know, I can actually look back on it and look at that and make jokes. So whenever we came up with the concept of, you know, what are we going to make this film about, you know, we're like, well, you know, we have a lake house. And they're like, oh, well, it's about 4 guys find themselves at a lake house. And it's like, well, that you can't just, like, when they wake up when they're in a lake house, like, that doesn't make any sense. So I decided to put a little bit of a personal touch of that, where I didn't want to have a talking psychology head explain what's wrong with Stanley or have him, you know. I also didn't want him to end up being super happy either. Like I didn't want.
Yeah, we tried to keep the whole thing kind of subtle, which is like the opposite of what the name would make you think. But it's not so much just about suicide, but about finding something to live for. You know, like once you have people who care about you, who are gonna like jump into a river to save you,
and he's not cured at the end. He's still moving on. He's still
it's like a first step kind of thing.
Yeah, that's how we saw it. It's more he changed his point of view.
I didn't want him to end up with the girl at the end and be like, oh well, romance is the key to happiness.
Right.
Yeah, it's like that's not accurate. I mean, you can't depends on the girl or the guy. Yes.
Just
What made you decide to make the title so long?
Actually, it was a joke.
Started out as a joke.
I don't know if what was the original title at all?
Well, the original title was.
Was there nothing?
It was Steve Chong finds that suicide's a bad idea.
Yeah.
And then I was like, this is a terrible title. You're like, it is funny. And then
I was like,
all right, guys, what's the real title? They're like, no, we're just
Too lazy to change.
I was like, no, what's the title? They're like, no.
As people always would, I mean, everybody laughs at that title when they hear it, and so that's the main reason it stuck around. Is we couldn't find anything else that would sort of sell that kind of awkward humor that the whole movie's based on, just in one joke.
We got your attention, right?
And in case
it was definitely we were like, I don't know if we should do this, but then it just kind of stuck.
Yeah, like people were like, the actors were being like, you know, I really like that title. We're like, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, we like it too.
Suicide is a bad idea.
Yeah,
One more question.
just one more.
Two more.
Two more.
In the beginning, Steve is speaking to his mother, and I heard some people laughing at her responses. That's not a language I speak, so I was curious what she was saying back to you.
I mean, yeah, she's kind of, like, we originally had subtitles, and we kind of took them out just because...
She ends up repeating everything he says.
Yeah,
literally.
It's not very, it's nothing complex. It's not just like inside jokes in there or anything. It's I think it was my sister laughing because it's my mom. It's my actual mom. It's kind of just like regular mirrored dialogue to what I'm saying. It's not anything.
You didn't need this complicated.
No, I thought it worked really well without it. It was just interesting because obviously people do
the Asian
understood
American
what they
Film
were saying. You know, if you watch this movie, you'd never realize that.
And then we got one more in the. Was it you, sir? Yeah.
I was just wondering. Steve's character is the only one of Asian descent, and he turns out to be the vulnerable one in the group. Did that have any bearing on the making of his character?
Like, why did we choose him to be the suicidal one? I mean, he wasn't even, in the beginning, I don't even think technically, when I first read the script, I didn't even realize he was going to be the Asian character, you know? Like, I didn't even, when I read it, the first draft, I didn't, well, no. Whatever. It was just Steve, though. The first script, it was just Steve, man. I don't even remember all that.
I think to answer your question, we've never really looked at it that way.
Yeah.
You know, we knew, Chip told me once, even just recently, something Stanley as the main character, given that, you know, you don't see Asian main characters very often. Like, it's kind of a little bit unique. And we weren't thinking of it as a racial equality thing per se. We thought it would be interesting. And we knew Stanley was you know, one of the more experienced actors we had, to be honest, too. And yeah.
Well, Stanley also had all the stuff. He had the house.
Yeah, it was also his house.
I guess. I'm a vulnerable guy.
So I like that scene with the four boys when you guys were stopped with the car. It was kind of like that's what you were when you were younger guys, you know. And I kind of
At the end? Yeah, at the end of the film?
No, towards the end, right, where they were looking at the boys at the causeway.
Well, that was partially based on reality too, right? Yeah. Because they, at one of the points when they were stranded, I think, during one of the scouts, before I even got on the project, you guys were in a boat with like a fisherman or something, and he had these kids playing.
We actually, about 6 months before we shot the film, I wrote the first 30 pages, and everybody's like, okay, that's great, what happens next? I was like, I don't know. So we actually went to the lake house to write it. And most of the stuff that actually happened at the lake house was in the film, like the car table scene. That happened in real life.
Noodles.
It wasn't a love triangle, but it wasn't with that character. It was actually with that
me.
character.
Behind the scenes, get the DVD to see.
And then one of the things that happened was, you know, we were on a boat getting back, and our boat broke down. And I was like, okay. And then some random person, I think.
I think it was like a random,
like sort of random.
Swamp guy.
Yeah, it was
Swamp guy.
It was God.
No, he was a family friend.
But he picked us up, and there were a bunch of children on the boat, and there was pretty much a child correlated to like every person. And I was like, well, that's ironic.
Let's do it.
That's kind of like a symbolism. So I wrote it down. So that was also based on something that happened. So because you can't beat real life.
Yeah.
So one more time, suicideisabadidea.com, y'all, and then thank y'all so much for